maybe like 5 or 6 people would just show up, but I guess everybody's really interested in this. So let me go ahead and just get started. So who am I exactly? Some of you guys know me online, some of you guys know me in person, but my name is Tony Panarero, also known as TJ Knoll online. I'm the community manager for offense security. I'm also the adjunct professor at Frederick Community College. I like to teach a lot of the ethical hacking courses that are there, and I also run the cyber team there. I also am the moderator at netsecfocus.com. We have an online information security community platform where we always communicate and collaborate with one another. It's a really fun platform. If you have a chance, go ahead, check it out, and see if you want to get into it. So I got a couple hobbies, right? I like to compete in cyber competitions. For the past 5 years, I competed in a total of 245. Favorite ones, I gotta say, gotta give props to Sans Net Wars Tournament Champions. Sans Holiday Hack Challenge is not on there, sadly. Sorry, Ed. MACC DC, Cyber Patriot. And I also enjoy attending security conferences. I think 2 years ago was my first year attending BSides DC, and I'm actually surprised this is my first talk actually to be here. So outside of InfoSec, because you gotta have hobbies outside, right? Hiking, traveling, play lacrosse, and I love to play video games. So what are we gonna be talking about today, right? So how many of you guys are familiar with offense security, the OSCP by show of hands? Okay, pretty much 80% of you guys, right? You're here for this, that makes sense. So my other question to ask you is, how many of you have it? Is it just, okay, 3, 4? Okay, I'm okay with that, that's good. So for some of you that are interested in taking it, we're gonna go over the prerequisites for the course, overview of the course, lab environment. I'm gonna give you some tips about how to prepare for those, the exam as well too, and also tips for taking it, and then some resources I wanna give you guys to help you guys out prepare for it, because it's not an easy course, and it's also not an easy exam. And any questions or feedback you guys have, if we have any left over time, you guys can certainly ask me about it. So, for those of you that don't know what the OSCP is, the Offense Security Certified Professional is one of the most technical and most challenging certifications. In order to become certified, you must complete the penetration testing course that they have. They offer a 30, 60, 90-day course, right? And the hands-on exam is actually a 23-hour, 45-minute exam that you have to do. And if you get a total of 70 points or more, then you also have 24 hours to write the report itself. People who usually pass the exam can be able to prove that they have the knowledge and ability to actually identify vulnerabilities and also successfully execute attacks as well. So why did I pursue the OSCP? So when I was a senior in high school, I was taking computer classes at the Career and Technology Center that we had. And it was my first security class. I was really excited, and I knew this is something I wanted to do. And during one of those classes, my teacher actually dropped the Backtrack 5 cookbook that was there, and also a CD of Backtrack 5 R3. I just fell in love with it. I fell in love with the book. I fell in love with going through the tools, the resources, understanding the attack methods, and I wanted to actually learn more about how to get into pen testing, how to actually use Backtrack more comfortably. And so, this is really old. Back when I was a senior in high school, I found the penetration testing with Backtrack. OffSec had this as a course. I was like, sweet, I'm gonna go ahead and take this. This was me 16 years old at the time, and unfortunately, OffSec doesn't allow you to take the course unless you're 18. So I thought, all right, I'm gonna go ahead and try to take the PWB, in a couple years. A couple years later, PWB, decides to get replaced with PWK afterwards. And of course, when I go through the course itself, in that little valley that I have, I try to go ahead and do the try-harder stuff, right? Go through the city, go through the lab itself and the content, just to get to that top of the mountain to get my OSCP, right? So in order to prepare for the course, right, OffSec has already a couple different things that they talk about that they want you to focus on before you start it, right? TCP IP networking fundamentals, right? Know how to do subnetting, learn how network traffic works, identify different types of protocols, right? Know your operating systems, Windows operating systems, Linux. Also understand how the different architectures work, 32-bit and 64-bit as well. Programming languages. Now, it's recommended to have an understanding of Bash and Python. Some other things I also would recommend is Perl, Ruby, and C++ as well too, if you have some time to learn about those. And also note-taking. Documentation is really important when you're going ahead and doing these, when you're going through the PWK itself. So there's a couple tools that are out there that I like to use, Cherry Tree and OneNote. Those are my really big tools that I use for a lot of things. And I know I've seen a lot of people in the offense security field that have taken these courses. They also like to use Markdown editors. Typora is actually a really cool tool. You can actually download for Windows and Mac that you can use to do Markdown editing to write your reports and write your lab guides as well. So what does the course go through, right? We go through passive information gathering. We go through active as well, vulnerability scanning, buffer overflows. This is going to be really important. And I think that's probably one of the biggest chapters that I went through to really help me with the exam. Understanding Windows 32 buffer overflow, Linux, working with different exploits, Transferring files is another key important thing. You know, when you have to do a privilege escalation scenario, you're gonna have to learn and actually understand how to transfer those specific exploits to escalate your privileges over, right? Learn about the different tools that are there. There actually could be some really interesting things that you'll find as well. Privilege escalation attacks, client side, web app, password attacks. You guys get the rest. I don't gotta read the rest of the slides. So, the lab environment. This is probably the most fun part about the course, and this is what I probably really enjoyed a lot. So, when you go ahead and register for the course, get signed up, they give you a VPN pack, and they give you the course materials, right? In that VPN pack, you have the ability to connect it to their lab that they have set up. In that lab environment, they have a total of 60 machines, I believe, but that may change. So they have an IT department, they have a development network, an administrative network. Each of them have their own different systems that you're gonna have to try to find ways to pivot into to access those networks. So my recommended lab setup for you guys is have VMware Workstation or VMware Player. I have noticed that people have tried to use VirtualBox in situations, and it can work. You know, Kali Linux is the main operating system used. Some people try to use Parrot OS and other different operating systems. But I want you guys to keep in mind is that if you try to use these different operating systems or try to use a different hypervisor, offense security may not be able to help you with that. Support may not be able to help you with your troubleshooting your situations. That's why we recommend that you have VMware Workstation or Player or Kali Linux so that we can be able to suit you guys and help you guys when you're going through the course or having any troubleshooting issues with your VPN connection pack or with the tools itself. The next thing I also recommend is have a Windows 7 32-bit or 64-bit system on your system itself. This is really important. And the reason why I say that is because there are going to be some exploits that you try, or there's going to be some applications that you're trying to exploit that may not work in the lab for some reason. And it's always good to have those on either the Windows 7 system you have, or maybe even a fresh Linux system as well too, so that you can be able to resimulate or try to understand why the exploit that you're using is not working. Make changes to the code or make changes to the file itself so that you can be able to find that attack vector that you need to get onto that system. And last thing I also recommend is on those Windows 7 systems that you have Immunity Debugger with you too. I really liked reverse engineering, and I like trying to understand how programs actually work in their instructions and their processes, and it also kind of really helped me out during the exam as well. So, assessing the PWK network. So, how long did it take me to go through this network? Well, it took me 28 days to go through all 60 systems that they had. It took me 127 hours to go through this. I had an Excel sheet, and I took this from another offensive security student. And he tracked his hours and his time of how long he went through each box, how long he went through each lab assignment. And it really gave me a better understanding of how well I was using my time and how I could actually improve that. There were some days where I would be able to pwn systems in less than 5 minutes. And then there'd be some systems, and some of you guys know about the big four, they would take probably about 2 to 3 days for me to actually try to assess and break in those systems. So keep in mind that each system that have different types of difficulties. Some systems you'll have to pivot into them. Others you have to actually review the course material to run the specific attacks you need to. And also use the reverts that they give you. It's really important that you actually touch those reverts, because a lot of the boxes that people are going into the PWK could also be already broken, or some of the exploits might not work. So whenever I was trying to do, whenever I was in the lab, going through the PWK network, I would always try to pick a target box that I was trying to look at. I would always revert that one first, so that I know I would have a clean box to be able to test, go through, and also be able to understand if I was missing some type of concept instead of wasting 30, 40 minutes of my time, you know, troubleshooting someone's issue or what thing they did to break that box, right? Which leads to my next part here, right? Please don't be this person. Please don't be that person, right? The PWK lab network is there to help everybody learn and understand all the different ways to break into systems, right? Find out the different type of attack vectors. And if you go out and patch, which I've seen a few people do, it really can frustrate a lot of people, right? You're taking a course to learn, not to make it hard on others. So please keep that in mind, right? So there's a couple tips I want to give you guys. Enumerate, enumerate, enumerate. You probably have heard this so many times. Enumeration is key, right? It's a serious thing. And when you're going to enumerate, check out the different types of services you're looking at. Do a port scan on everything, right? If you just do only TCP, you may be missing something on the UDP side. That's a huge key thing on even some of the exam systems you may see. Also understand what the system does, who uses it, why was it created, right? You're gonna have different users that are on there that are gonna have specific roles on why they're using that system. Oop. Not what I wanted. Track your hours, like I said, do not skip the lab exercises, and use the reverts that are there. So the exam. As I said before, right, you're gonna have a total of 23 hours and 45 minutes to do the exam. You will be proctored during the exam. If some of you have known or realized back a few years ago that offensive security decided to do proctoring on their exams because they saw an effective amount of cheating. The reason why the proctoring is placed is, of course, to monitor those people and also find those people who do cheat, because it's not fair for the others that actually are trying, that actually go through the course, that actually put their time into it, you know. So in the exam, it consists of 5 target systems. Each of those target systems are going to have different points. And I'm not going to be able to tell you the point values because a lot of that information is already online. But you need a minimum of 70 points or higher to pass the exam. And like I said before, if you believe you have enough points, you then have that 24 hours to write that report. An extra 5 points will also be given to you if you write a lab report, so 10 systems that you actually pwned in the network, and also you go through the entire course exercises. I recommend that you do this. And the reason why is because that 5 points can either really help you on that exam, and if you don't do it, you may have lost yourself an attempt, and you may have to go back through that exam again. So keep that in mind, and I really recommend that you go through the course material itself. So during the exam, there are some restrictions that are in place. You can't use any of these following tools: spoofing tools, commercial tools, right? Metasploit Pro, Burp Suite Pro, automatic exploitation tools like DB Autopwn, Browser Autopwn, mass vulnerability scanners, features and other tools that either utilize either forbidden or restricted exam limitations. I have seen a lot of students in the past try to run Responder in their labs, and some of you know what Responder does, right? When it captures NTLM hashes. What does that tool do? It's a spoofing tool, right? And the way you use that tool itself can actually maybe ban you from taking the exam or even ban you from offset courses. So keep in mind about what type of tools and what type of programs you are using in the exam. And if you have any questions, ask support. They're there for you guys to help you. So preparing for the exam. When you think you're comfortable, schedule it 3 or 4 weeks in advance. OffSec exam slots fill up really quickly. And once you book the time or the slot for your exam, make sure that you think about these things before you start, right? Complete the lab report, class exercises, right? Read the guideline requirements. And I mean every little detail about it, because there's some things that you may slip or miss that may lose your ability of taking that exam, or it may fail you for that attempt. Have an area or space where you need to work with, right? Don't be in a distracted area. Be in a quiet, comfortable space that you're actually going to be taking the exam. Don't forget to eat or drink. That's a huge thing. Some people really like to try to Iron Man through the test, not take drinks, not take breaks, not have food, and that really, really will hurt you. So make sure you prepare your time accordingly. You know, make sure that if you have any issues or you're having frustrations going through the lab, going through the exam itself, take a step back. Make sure you have your system set up. This is a big thing for me. So when I was taking my exam, the day of my exam, my entire Kali system broke. I had all my cheat sheets, I had all my scripts, I had all my programs. I was like, I'm ready to go, I got this. Fortunately, I took a snapshot right before I actually turned off the system itself. Reverted my snapshot, I had everything back to normal. You don't want to go on the exam having no systems ready or not having a backup in place. It's very important to have those things when you're doing that. Also, during the time when you have scheduled your exam, start working on that exam report. Have a little draft ready, right? If you've already gone through and done the lab report, it's kind of almost the same as when you're writing the same type for your exam report. Anything that you have to fill in is during the exam itself. This goes ahead and gives you a little bit more time during your 24 hours to go ahead and fill anything in that you were missing. And make sure that you get some rest. Spend some time with family, friends, go out, get your snacks, go out, get your drinks, any caffeine that you need, sufficient things that you need to prepare yourself for that exam. So there's a quote that I really want to bring up that really helped me during this exam. You're going to run out of ideas before you run out of time. Take breaks, walk away for a bit. Don't be afraid to go to sleep for a few hours, especially if you're stuck. But don't give up. I've seen a lot of people, like I said, Iron Man through the exam and not pass, get frustrated, and they don't understand what they missed. It's always good to take those step backs so that you can have a refreshed mind And also to look at different approaches as well too when you go back into it, when you're comfortable and when you're ready. Check your systems and the technical requirements as well too for your exam. And also, of course, never give up. Try harder, right? So I've also created some resources after I took my exam, and this is one of the big resources that I want to give you guys. So I've created this really huge guide. I studied OSCP for almost a year and went through different courses to help me prepare. And I tried to find as much open resources as I could to help those in need who really want to take the exam but don't want to be able to spend the money, right? SANS has a lot of crazy, amazing courses. They have SANS 560, SANS 542, right? But who has the budget to be able to spend $8,000 on a course, right? eLearn Security, right? They got some good courses too as well. Who wants to spend $2,000 on a course maybe, right? Fence Security, right? The course itself is $11.50 for a 90-day lab access with the exam voucher itself. But there are a lot of free resources online that you can use to your ability to prepare for it itself. You don't have to look at paying for a course or trying out a different course and then wasting the time and the effort that you need. So if you guys have a chance, take a look at this guide. And for those of you that fail, don't worry about that. Use that moment of when you failed to go ahead and reassess what you missed. Brush up on the stuff that you need. A lot of stuff that I've also provided really helped me out, kind of brush up on some things that I really need to focus on. My biggest weakness going through the course and through the exam was privilege escalation. I suck at it. I really do still. And a lot of the guides that were out there really helped me for what I was doing. And of course, this course itself is not your multiple choice exam, kind of like CSSP, or the SANS courses itself with GX certifications. This is a full hands-on practical exam. So how do you build that skills? Well, there's a lot of places online that have hands-on machines that you can actually prepare for. So before Hack the Box came around, I prepared mostly with VulnHub. And there's a lot of big different VulnHub systems that were out there that really helped me out prepare for the exam. So I've created a list of OSCP-like VMs on VulnHub and Hack the Box on the bit.ly link you see up on the screen here that can really help you guys out. Go through those, download them, test them, play with them. And also, I've also worked with IPSec. And for some of you guys that are more of a visual learner and like to watch IPSec's videos, there's a playlist for that that has all the different type of systems that I've seen in the PWK lab network and also through the exam that could definitely help you out. Also prepare the process in your methodology and your concept for the course and through the exam. Other resources that I also include, and this is going to be a huge list, so be prepared. These are all in my guide, don't worry. But I wanted to also give a shout out to these three people that really helped me out. Abachi's OSCP Guide, Scrundor, and Knee Consulting. These were really helpful guides on preparing me for the exam and for the course itself. Because originally when I went through the course, I was nervous. I was stressed. I didn't feel like I was going to pass on the first time. I didn't think I would be able to go through the course. But with their mindset, with their opinions that they've had, really helped me get a better understanding of what I need to prepare for. What did I need to focus on? Books as well too really helped me out. Penetration Testing by Georgia Whoami. Yes, it's an old book, I know. She also has a cyber class as well too. But a lot of those concepts that she has in that book really relate to what goes through in the course. Kali Linux Revealed, if you really want to know more about Kali Linux, Raphael, I'm trying to remember the other three, Maddie, and I think maybe Jim, really wrote an awesome book. And it's free, it's open source, it's on Kali's website as well too that you can actually download and go through to learn more about Kali Linux. And then I have some other books as well too that really kind of help me out. And for those of you that are really stuck on Windows privilege escalation or Linux privilege escalation, these are the guides that I use to really help me out as well too. Gottmilks for Linux, and I really have to give him props as well too, really is an awesome resource. And I feel like a lot of the automated tools that are out there, like LindyNoom, Linux Exploit Suggester, and also some of the lib print checkers out there, were really just based off his guide. A lot of stuff that you'll see in the course, you'll go through the course when the Linux side, when you're trying to escalate your privileges through those Linux systems, will go back to him. GTFO bins is another great place. LFOI bins, I should have added that on Windows and I didn't. And the buffer overflow part, because you will have that in the exam. I won't tell you what system it is. You can probably find that out online itself. But Cornlean series has a really good guide on how to get a basic introduction of doing a buffer overflow itself. And the last thing I want to point out is this. The mindset of try harder. I know this is probably a difficult topic to talk about. And I know some of you guys probably think that this could be a negative thing. But I want to try to reiterate something and what try harder really means to me when I went through this course. So try harder really, to me, means to be persistent. When something does not work, like for the first or second or third try, and you hit a brick, well, take a step back. Remember, the mistakes and the failures are part of the process, not just the course, but in life, right? We have to go through failure to achieve our accomplishments. We have to take time to understand those, right? Having this mindset will really lead you to creating new ideas and new approaches. But remember to also have patience. Being creative. We have to go through different types of exploits, right? We have to go through different types of mindsets, and also different approaches on things that we see. There's always a second or a third way to go through different things. There's always other ways to try different things. Have an imagine about it. Go through different ways on it. And being perceptive. I hear this motto a lot, and everyone says, oh, I don't like try harder, I want to do try smarter. How can you try smarter if you don't put the effort into it? How can you try smarter if you actually know what you're really going to go through? Or how are you going to be able to find it? Going back with try harder about being perceptive is that we have to go through rigorous different challenges. We have to go through rigorous different changes, especially what we're doing here in the field itself. There's a lot of things that we need to look at and we need to understand, not just in the courses that we go through, not through the challenges we do, but even through general in life. So make sure that you kind of have this mindset. You want to be able to build this mindset. And also, the one thing is too, is that this doesn't come naturally. So it's not going to happen tomorrow. It's not going to happen the next day or next week. This is something that's going to just take time for you to build and grow. And I just want you guys to keep that in mind when you're going through the course itself or through the material or anything you do. So with that I have in place, that's really all I have. Does anybody have any questions? And this is going to be a lot of questions going through probably. So for the guy in the back, straight ahead. So to reiterate the gentleman's question in the back, you were talking about the penetration standards report. You think it's going to model the actual pen test report you do in the PWK, or are you trying to model to that? So offense security actually gives a report template. And that report template goes ahead and gives you step-by-step instructions on how a pen test report should look. Now, everybody's report is going to be different. And make sure it is. Make sure if you're going through the course itself as well too, that you have the ability to work with others, but make sure that your writing is totally different from others. You can go ahead and try to follow that method. You can follow the standards, but I'd say go through the PWK course just to start and just understand that report itself. And there's also a variety of different online pen testing reports that you can actually look at online to help you out, try to get a better understanding of how your report should be written. Any other questions? Over here. Good question. I'm going to post them on Fed Security's website. So they will be there. Any other questions that anybody has? Going once? Going twice? Is everybody just here for the Cali stickers I have? That is great. That is great. Well, one more question in the back. That's a very good question. So online and in the past, it really depends. Huh? Oh, to repeat the question. The gentleman in the back just asked how many lab or PWK systems should a user go through that they think they're comfortable for the exam. Honestly, that depends on you. People recommend online that you should at least go through 30 systems. I say go through as many as you can. They're there for you, right? There's different networks that you need to go through to understand the lab environment itself. You're paying to go ahead and actually go through that lab network. Take the time and the effort and the patience to go through all of them. And when you feel comfortable and ready to take the exam, try it. See how you do in the exam. And if you fail, don't worry. I've seen a lot of people fail more than once. And I've seen people pass on their 5th or 6th time. Seriously, it's really interesting to see how everybody has their different mindset and different approaches through the course itself and through the exam. But just make sure not to give up and keep putting the effort into it. Question in the back. Can you repeat that again, please? Mm-hmm. Okay. To reiterate the question that the lady asked, should you reiterate the same exact lab report going through the 10 systems and through the exercises? You need to be able to turn in both. And the best way of doing the lab report itself, those 10 systems, is copying the same exact report that Offsite gives you. That report will really help you out. Go through the exam, or sorry, go through the actual lab report that you can actually use then to help apply that knowledge and methodologies and the writing that you do to your exam as well. Any other questions that anybody has? Okay, I wanted to make this more time for questions. Yes, one more. You could use other scanning tools like Sparta. Sparta is allowed in the exam. To repeat the question, from the gentleman in the back, he said that you can only use Metasploit once in the exam. Are there any other tools that you can use, any GUI tools like Sparta? That really depends. Sparta is a network scanning tool, right? Sparta is okay to use, but any type of like auto-pwning tools, any type of auto-exploitation tools, they are illegal in the exam. The only type of options that you can use in Metasploit is MSF Venom to create your shellcode. I also recommend to stay away from those tools. Stay away from the automated ones that are out there. OffSec is trying to teach you how to do these things manually because we rely so much on the tools that we use for our daily lives and for the work that we do with them. It's always good to have a different perspective of how to use different tools and how to go through things manually than just jumping into a tool and trusting and relying on that tool itself. Yes? So you can't use Metasploit for exploitation except for in one instance. You use it for the handlers? No, you cannot use it for the handlers. For the question that the gentleman just asked, can you be able to use the auxiliary modules in Metasploit? No, you cannot. You can only use Metasploit exploit once, and you can only use Metinterpreter once during that process of that stage. The only tool that's liable that you can use on Metasploit in that option is MSF Venom. Question? Good. Very good question. So the gentleman asked over here if you can be able to write your own scripts to do any type of scanning and enumeration. I totally recommend it. It's really fun because also the other thing too is that you get to understand all the different types of programming languages and also how to write your own tools, how to script your own tools to do that. And also you could be able to try to improve some of the actual tools that common people really use. I would use that as a learning way. And also I would also test that in the lab network that you have, depending on how many days you schedule for it itself. Question here.
Can you prep the scripts that you want to use ahead of time, or do you have to write them during the exam?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that, please?
Can you prepare scripts that you want to use ahead of time that you were going to write, or do you have to compose them during the exam?
So the gentleman asked, can you prepare scripts ahead of time? You can definitely prepare scripts ahead of time depending on what you're using, but I would really focus on your methodology and your concept, understanding what approach you are going to take for the exam itself. That's what I would really focus on preparing. You know, I did also, when I was preparing for my exam, I did already craft some of the exploits and also some of the binaries that I needed, but when I was going through the exam, I actually really didn't have to use those for what I needed. Any other questions? Yes, in the back. The gentleman asked what person or who person, I guess, was be able to complete the fastest course. I don't have an answer for that.
No, I'm saying you keep stats, like is there a person like 5 days or?
I can't answer that question. I apologize. Any other questions that anybody has? Yes, I can definitely talk about that. So the gentleman asked in the back, what is the difference between OSCP and OSCE? So OSCP is a fundamental course to prepare you for pen testing. OSCE is different. OSCE focuses on exploit development. That will actually give you a better understanding of assembly and also some advanced attacks in network pen testing as well too. So for some of you guys that are just starting out, which I believe most of you are, that want to get an OSCP, that's the first course I would go through for understanding pen testing fundamentals, how to do everything manually. And then when you're ready to start learning more about the exploit development side, I would definitely consider pursuing OSCE. If you want to get into the web app section as well too, OSWE has just been released. That's also part of the AWAE course. And it's a full web app pen testing course that actually focuses on white app pen testing itself. Any other questions that anybody has? Yes?
When you take the test, there's going to be somebody there paying attention to you. Is that literally somebody looming over your shoulder, like Pearson, or?
Oh, I can definitely answer that one, and I expected that question to come up. So the lady asked, is there going to be any type of proctoring or a person watching you during the exam? Yes, there will be. Offense Security has their own proctoring system that they use, and they will have a person to monitor you. You will need to have a Screen Connect program and also a webcam to be able to display what you are doing, where you are as a person. The Screen Connect program is supposed to display and understand what you are doing on your system. Now, please keep in mind as well too that you need to be able to pass the technical requirements that they have before you take your exam. Otherwise, when you go through the exam itself, if you don't meet any of those technical requirements or you can't get your systems up, OffSec will revoke your exam attempt that you have, and you have to reschedule for another one. The other thing too that I also recommend is that if you're going to be using more than one screen, make sure you tell the proctor how many screens you're using. Otherwise, if you have 3 screens and you're using 2 other screens, you can only use that one screen for the exam. I have seen many students try to take the exam, say that they have 1 screen, even though they're using 3. The proctor can see you moving your mouse and detecting you doing that. And if they do, they can suspect you of cheating. So please be honest with them, right? Any other questions anybody has? Yes? Man, that's the 2nd time already. Yes, I have stickers here. Final questions, anybody? Going once. Okay, one more. I'm going to go home now. All right, going once, going twice, sold. Well, anyways, if you guys want to find me, you guys can find me on Twitter. I have a GitHub page that has some of my tools on there that I used in OSCP, or you can also chat with me on NetSec Focus. Thank you guys for coming out. I really do appreciate this a lot. I hope you guys enjoyed it.